Serious hackers of Reddit. What's something you stumbled upon that you immediately noped the peep out? Removed. Couple of years back, I was real big into reactivating old Hotmail accounts and using them to log in into Facebook. Since this was in the heyday of chain mails with 100 or so accounts there, I had a huge backlog. Don't know why I did it. A combination of boredom and verism, I think. And lots of free time. I felt like a sort of hacker, at least. Occasionally, you stumble upon things you wish you weren't supposed to. I mean, yeah, I know how that sounds. Once, I came upon a guy's Facebook, and after a while you instantly realize it hasn't been used in years. A bit like coming across an abandoned house. Tons of notifications and unopened PMs. On the top of the list of those messages, it was a woman that kept trying to contact him. My first impression was that it was a stalker, maybe an ex that wasn't able to move on. I really don't want to get into details, because even for me, it feels like I walked into an absolutely private matter, but it was mostly her talking about her day-to-day stuff, and occasionally begging him to come back. Sometimes it got real weird, with her telling him how she felt him in the wind. Turns out the guy was dead. And people have strange ways of coping. I left that habit behind. After that. Man. All the peeped up speep I read here and this got to me. A great mix of depressing and creepy. Was asked to steal a couple Bitcoin from a customer's associate back when BTC and altcoins were booming. Got access to his wallet fairly easily. Being curious as I am. Checked how he got so much coin. Had tons of small sum payments with links attached to the transactions. Checked one and it was just child porn. Lots and lots of child porn. Told the guy I was working for his associate was a peeping pedo and quickly dropped a line to the relevant authorities. Speep like that peeps you up, man. TLDR was asked to gain access to a BTC wallet. Checked the transactions and they were selling peeped up child porn. Edit. I'm not talking a few grand in BTC in this dude's wallet, but closer to 6 to 7 figures. Just hundreds and hundreds of small 50, 1k transactions. It's sickening. Edit 2. No, I'm not teaching you how to gain access to crypto wallets. Stop ming me. TLDR was asked to gain access to a BTC wallet. Checked the transactions and they were selling peeped up child porn. As if there's an unpeeped up version. Was talking like what could be considered regular, if you can even call a 6 peep that. VS like gore and torture. Super saddening and super abhorrent. It pisses me off that 6 peeps get off to that kind of speep. Does to me too, man. I just think it's flat disturbing. I can't imagine the horrible things you'd have to go through to only be able to get turned on by that stuff. The cycle just continues over and over again. Got hired through a website where someone wanted me to gain access to a kid's computer who doxed him. Got onto it and found that he was looking up recipes for explosives. Turned him in and noped out of there. Have had a few others where I found CP. It's way too common. Yep. Looks like CP is the common thing in this thread. It's also the most peeped up for me. I'm not really surprised. Most of the stuff being discussed in this thread isn't exactly legal to start with. CP is one of the few things that makes even hardened criminals nope out of a situation. Many long years ago there was this website called DON8. It was basically just a weird ambiguous splash page with a countdown timer and a map with red dots all over it. This thing was super effective at rustling the jimmies of the entire internet. I found a way in relatively early on and, based on a few things I found in the web route, it became immediately obvious that the whole thing was a prank. So I decided to leave it alone and watch it play out. Right at the very end of the countdown, the guy that was running the whole thing updated the website with his big reveal, including some message about how hackers from all over the world kept trying to break in but none could manage it. Called us all lame noobs. I was a bratty teenager, so I took that as a challenge. I was on a teleconference with some other hackers at the time, so we jumped on the server through a back door I'd left and effaced the page with this severely cringe-inducing message. Oh god. I can't believe I'm sharing this. I blacked out the guy's name, but I'm sure someone here probably knows him or knows a VON8. So if he sees this, sorry dude. GD kids. Right? Anyway, right around this time, as the countdown ended, and for a while after, the server was getting swamped to the point of an essential DDoS. This was happening while I was logged into SSH on the server. I was in the process of doing some cleanup, deleting some utility scripts I'd put on the server, but I was impatient. The lag was grueling, and I was working faster than the server was sending me responses. I changed directories at one point and tried to delete everything in it before seeing a response from the server and didn't realize I'd fat-fingered the cd command. I ended up deleting a bunch of his stuff that I didn't mean to. The second I realized what I'd done, I instantly felt horrible and noped the peep out of there. We had planned on razzing the guy for a while, but I was just totally done. TBH, that message is kind of hilarious in its own way. Even without the date, the whole thing feels so beautifully 2006. I was hired to develop a payment processor for a unnamed large fast food brand. At this point, I had the ability to take out 100k a day into an offshore account. I would have done this by pulling a movie plot like Heist. I was going to take 2% of all tax payments. I was thinking about it for a while. Then the next day, someone I knew was busted for doing the same thing on a much smaller brand. At this point, I dipped out. I ended up working for the brand for a few more years without committing fraud. Sounds like the plot from the movie Office Space. Only they got lucky as their building burned down, destroying all the evidence. Not really hacking, but back in the day I wrote a Trojan that would steal user account info and CD keys from Diablo 2, which I would sell later on eBay for sweet cash. It would proxy between the connection of the client and server, and while the user was in a chat room on the realm, it would spam download links for the Trojan and subsequently hide the messages from anyone infected, so they wouldn't suspect anything. This made it self-spreading, and it was actually so effective that eventually Blizzard put up a warning about it on their website. I took down the sites hosting it at that point, since I was scared and didn't want it getting traced back to me. I want my Zod glitched up Hoz back, you a-hole. Old boss asked me to find the personal data of somebody he had met at a hotel for reasons. I explained that I was unlikely to be able to do it untraceably. Explained social engineering. Explained that I was no good at social engineering. And noped the peep out. Let him try. KPP on iOS. I'm not even going to try to find a way around that thing. Plus methods exist that don't even try to patch the kernel. Think Electra for iOS 11. Sure. But that doesn't help much if your goal is to actually patch the kernel and not necessarily just to get a jailbreak. True, but the main reason of patching the kernel is to remount the root fsr/w, which plus jailbreaks do via a daemon instead. That requires some level of user input on boot in order to gain r/w, unless some kind of major breakthrough happened that I don't know about. When I was messing with iOS, my job was to compromise an iPhone at the kernel level without the user knowing. For regular jailbreaks, exploiting after boot every time is fine. Beep boop hard drive. I too know your technology. Haha, yeah man, just today I was rewriting the hash functions of the substat drive mechanizer, and out of nowhere this bug shorted the mainframe, and I couldn't backtrace the IP address, and had to change all the MAC addresses with the filter packet analyzer. The woes of hacking, am I right? Yeah man. Just the other day I was rerouting the C through the kernels and a JavaScript popped up. I didn't know what to do. I restarted the jailbreak, but that didn't work. Neither did soft booting the thumbnail. I was lost. It wasn't till my buddy said to try enhancing the BIOS that anything happened. But man, was that close. I worked for a company that was selling people's data. They had about 6 million leads. I dropped the DB before I left. I hope that company collapsed the next morning. I feel like privacy will be a really expensive product in foreseeable future. Not really a hack. The school at department were a shats and left the password to the main account hard-coded in a batch script. I went in and found all the teachers' pay, students' names, addresses, SSNs just to name a few. Noppa noppa nope out. Quickly make a throwaway because slightly paranoid, or whatever. Also hardly hacking but it counts. I like finding insecure IP cameras, mostly ones with no password or the default password, and then log into them to see wherever they are. A lot are in houses. Some are in kids' rooms, or whatever. Never tend to keep any open long enough to see people. One was in a random house in the front room and there was some girl on the sofa who was 4 or 5 years old. After a few minutes they got up and were totally naked. Never went back to that one. There's a sub for that. Don't recall the name though. Edit. A sub for unsecured cameras. Not the other parts. I remember it was posted on the old /r/sub that you could Google a specific URL ending and get tons of them as results, just because that certain type of camera broadcast was always named like that. I was at a CS LAN party ages ago. I ran a bunch of nets and scripts on the network causing prompts to pop up in front of the game saying "Done speak good luck." Apostrophe. Right behind you. Apostrophe. Your mother gives great head. Eventually the party organizer paused the games to walk everyone through how to disable messaging services. The funny thing was that about 15% of the people already had that off, including my group, and it caused a few unfair wins. I noped out when people starting looking at me, since I wasn't exactly quiet about the whole thing. Was peeping amazing. And the start of a long road of engineering and infosec work. This was back in the day of AIM and chat rooms. Had a guy who I was watching in a chat room. I had sent him a message acting as a 14-year-old. Told him to download my naughty picture. He didn't. It was just a quick download that gave me access to the entire system. The tool I used displayed the entire system and all functions in a hierarchy of importance with the Windows kernel at the tippy top. As soon as I was all set I deleted his kernel. I lost all my tools from back then, but that was a sweet time to be around. Seek and destroy internet pedis. What a hero. Crashed a print daemon on a Sprint NetX 25 connected system, thereby freezing/crashing the whole mainframe. Never reconnected again because I was afraid they'd be monitoring. This was like in 1991, you whippersnappers. Oh man. Packet switching. Where I live there was a Rex 25 network that was used at least for Interac transactions from ATMs, and I think point of sale devices. We found the number by connecting to the same phone line as an ATM, recording DTMF with an old Sony handheld tape cassette recorder, and decoding them by ear with great difficulty later. We used to dial into it and scan around for nodes. I don't think we ever found anything interesting on it. Getting some major nostalgia. Back when you could yell a whole prefix and maybe get an angry 69 call back. But probably not. Lol, did you hold the tape up to the ATM while it dialed out? Was a spammer in the mid to late 90s. There were a group of 3 of us. Would make a website using affiliate content and then spam the link to it. Started off by scanning AOL chat rooms, and we made a decent living from it. 2-3k for each of us per week. Then we got bigger into it and left the confines of AOL, which led to bigger paydays of 20-30k per month until the authorities knocked on one of my partner's doors. They never did come to me, and I was 17 at the time. Stopped once that happened. Pretty deep into the dark web for work. Looking for certain things. Came across certain adverts on darknet search websites that made me leave work until the next day. Nope, TF out there. I would prefer not to say what it was, but you can guess. Cheese pizza?